5th is a very important day here in Michigan. That's when the ballot proposal for what we're colloquially referring to as the roads proposal will have a public vote. You remember that this was snuck in at the end of the lame duck session when our state legislature basically couldn't decide on anything themselves, so they said, we'll just throw it out there to the people. However, as bad an idea as that was, an even worse idea is the fact that it's not being kept purely on the roads. It's a proposal that actually is going to include a bunch of other stuff as well, so you can't really just vote on whether you want a sales tax hike of 1% from 6 to 7% on sales tax to just go pay for our roads. It's going to cover other things as well. Is that the right way to do things? Paul Mitchell is with us, a treasurer for the Coalition Against Higher Taxes and Special Interest Deals. Paul, thank you for coming on the program.
Well, thanks for having me.
I
didn't vote for the Hot Tub Time Machine either. I didn't want to go for that movie.
Yeah. Stay away from that. That's probably a waste of money. Now, the ad that we have, is this one of the first ones that you guys have put together?
Yeah, it is. It's our first ad.
Here it is. You've probably seen it, folks, on TV, or going to. Anyhow, here it is.
And here's your receipt.
Whoa, that's high.
Yeah, that's Proposal 1. It's a sales tax hike. It gives Michigan one of the highest sales taxes in the nation.
Who's that?
That's the special interest.
I didn't pay for that.
Oh, yeah, you did. Lansing politicians say the tax is going to the roads, but nearly 40% of it goes to special interests.
Vote no on Proposal 1. Demand a better way to fix our roads.
Now, the way that I'm understanding this amendment to the Constitution, if it were to pass, is supposed to generate about $1.9 billion a year once it's full in a few years. Of that, only $1.3 billion would actually go to the road and bridge repairs, which is what everybody seems to agree we need in the state. The other 6 or 7 would go to other $600 or $700 million. I know it's like 6 or 7, like six. The other $6 or 7 bucks. The other $600 or $700 million would go to other things. Do I have it right that this is basically the crux of your objection?
Well, it is. It is. The tax hit on the citizens is a little over $2 billion because the way it's constructed, Michigan residents would lose the deduction on the registration tax for their vehicles. So the tax hit is actually a little over $2 billion, of which they hope to spend $1.2 billion on the roads. It's a huge hit. And if the priority is fix our roads, let's just do that and not fund the partridge in a pear tree.
Now, at the risk of sounding like a naive rube, why could they not have just made this proposal strictly for the roads, not attached anything to it, and just said, we're going to put this in front of the people. Do you want to spend this money on the roads, yes or no?
Well, I think it's kind of like a lob pass, hoping to get a dunk at the end of the game, and it went out of bounds. I think they ran out of time, and they thought they put something out there that would solve it or at least address it. I think they're finding out. You've seen the polling numbers that it's hugely unpopular. People are figuring out that it's funding a whole lot of things that aren't necessarily the priority they believe should be focused upon. They want to fix the roads. I want to fix the roads. There's no one talking about not fixing the roads. We shouldn't just have to pay a 40% ransom in order to be able to invest in our roads.
Of the 40% that you're referencing, in your opinion, what's the most heinous violation of trust?
I would say that there's a series of them there, Mitch. You've got an increase in the amount that we're paying the mass transit. You've got there's a series of them that they may well be priorities for some groups. They may be needed, but you talked about it. It's not common sense to take and say we're gonna have a road package and we're gonna throw stuff that's totally unrelated to roads and just toss it on there. It was done for a reason. It was done to get votes in the legislature, and they hope grease the skids with the voters on May 5th.
I see. If I understand politics well enough, and it's not an area I really want to specialize in, but it's like poison ivy. Once you get it, you're stuck with it.
You're still
so it's rare that you can get the general populace to vote an increase in something as universal as the sales tax. All right, because that affects everybody. It's very rare that you're going to get your populace to vote that for you, where
Right.
you don't have to be the bad guy who put taxes in. So everybody's lining up saying, hey, if they're going to vote themselves a tax increase, let's get a piece here or there or here or there. So I look at this stuff and I say, okay, $200 million going to schools. Now, you're never going to get me to think that a dollar that goes to a school is not a dollar well spent. But
Sure.
why is it attached to a roads bill? It's for schools. Or the one that I thought you were going to say, because it's the red flag for me, $173 million to the state's general fund. That's always bad. If it doesn't have a specific purpose, the general fund, is what people reach into to when they got to bail themselves out of some kind of trouble. That's almost $200 million that you're voting in that should not be attached to this at all. But I don't think politicians can resist the opportunity to see a fundamental tax hike on something as general as sales tax and not get their hands in.
Well, here's the other point I would make about it is that they talk about the sales tax increase, and people want to talk about it being 1%. It's not accurate. It's a 16.7% increase in the sales tax. It gives Michigan the second highest sales tax rate, state sales tax rate in the country. This is not a small thing. It's going to be in our Constitution. And if you look at the proponents' website, the yes folks, they don't even talk about the sales tax. It's like this secret. We won't tell anybody, and maybe it just will sneak up on them. They don't talk about these special interest deals we're talking about, whether they have merit or not. They don't talk about it. It's a shell game. They'll hide it behind their back, and maybe people won't notice that we're now going to pick up an extra $700 million for various things we think are important, and we'll tack on the roads because everyone thinks the roads are not in good shape.
Well, if this gets turned down, say it's voted down in May, and we're already behind, they really should be starting on these roads and having the money for them. Then what are they going to do? They're going to put another one on with 100% there, which means you have to wait till November to vote again. I mean, where's the end game for when these roads actually will get fixed?
Well, I think there were proposals in the legislature. Both the House had a proposal and the Senate had a proposal that didn't require a ballot initiative that could have put more money into the roads. Maybe the two of them weren't ideal, but the thing is, this compromise they came up with increased the cost from the high end of $1.2 billion to $2 billion. It's 58% more when they put this out to the voters. It's like you said, Mitch. They say, hey, here's an opportunity. We'll throw all this other stuff on it.
Well, nothing, as Bo Schembechler used to say, nothing good happens after midnight. And in politics, nothing good happens on the last day of a lame duck legislature session. You can just bet that everybody's just slapping everything they can onto a bill. And that's when this thing was created. So Kenny's question is well-founded because I think a lot of people are afraid that if they don't take some kind of action on May 5th, then we're dooming our roads to even more of the same, and we all know how bad the roads are going to be. Can you imagine after this winter, when the snow clears, all the snow that's been put on them and all the cold, which is what does the damage to these roads and cracks them apart, the potholes that are going to show up in the springtime and the summer here, and people are going to be fed up. But I have to say my gut reaction is the same as yours. When something is 40% over what it needs to be, it needs to go back and get mowed down and get trimmed. And you're also right. And when people say 6 to 7%, so the easy way of thinking about that, and the way the politicians want you to think about that is, okay, you're buying something for $1, and there's sales tax, so it's $1.06. Oh, now it's $1.07. What do you care? It's a penny. What do you care? And that's the way they want you to think about it. Of course, when you think about things that cost a whole lot more than that. You might buy a television set or a boat or things like that, and suddenly, if it's $1,000 instead of what is it, 60, it's 70. If it's $10,000 instead of 600, it's 700. Plus, as you point out, nobody would give a rubber stamp to a 16% tax increase. Everyone will go, whoa, that's a lot of, what happened to that 1% little jump, But 6% to 7% is exactly that. So it should, if you really want to have a small tax increase, it would be from 6% to 6.1%, right? But they can't do that because they can't chop a penny in half when they, charge you sales tax. So
sure.
This is the danger of the sales tax. So all said and done, what are you recommending people do?
Well, I think we need to recommend people that they urge their legislators to go back, the leadership needs to go back. Why wait until May 6th to realize they had a really unpopular idea, and we're going to wait? Start now. There are discussions in the legislature about Plan B. I disagree that there's no Plan B. The discussions are already underway. Now, they don't have a bill yet. They don't have a consensus yet. But why wait 70-some days to then decide, wow, we better do something? Leadership means let's solve a problem, and let's solve a problem with some consensus of the voters. We can wait till May 5th, and then May 6th we're going to be talking about how we fix this. And one comment for you, Mitch, is that my dad built trucks in the line. The average cost for the sales tax increase is between $680 and $800 a family, depending on a variety of factors. That's real money when you build trucks in the line. When you work in an office as an administrative assistant, that's serious money out of your pocket.
Yeah, well, everything you buy has got sales tax on it, and so it's going to absolutely add up. I absolutely agree with you. I think this was very irresponsible. Everybody knew it was irresponsible when they slapped it together, and you're right. They should be working on an alternative now, because my sense is, if the emotion stays the way it is, this is going to get turned down, and on May 6th we're going to have the same problems that we always have, but without any new proposals. So you might as well get to work on it.
Hitting the hot tub time machine.
Yeah, getting the hot tub time machine. There's your answer.
Back to that last day.
All right, Paul. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me. Have a good night.
Paul Mitchell from the Coalition Against Higher Taxes and Special Interest Deals. Let's take a look at the traffic.